So Casey dug the diamond.
Oh my god, best night of my life. Thank you for that advice.
Right, great. I've never gone digging. Where did you dig?
Well, like, so I'm really not quite understanding the whole concept of this monster high school thing. It just, can you, like,
It's like My Little Pony, but human.
Okay, it's not like My Little Pony. See, the thing is...
Oh, jeez.
Is this normal? Not usually. I'll be back later. I have something I need to take care of. You should see a doctor.
Are you okay? I'm fine. I need to be somewhere, you guys. I'll be right back to tell you about the story, okay?
Okay.
Bring them?
Yeah. Did you bring yours?
Oh, yeah. Ready?
Ready.
Let's do this.
Monsters, so bizarre. M-O-N-S-T-E-R. Monsters, yes we are. M-O-N-S-T-E, monster high. Monsters, so bizarre. M-O-N-S-T-E, monster high. The party never dies. Monster high, monster high. Freaky, chic, and fly. Monster high. We're student bodies, we've got spirits, yes we do. We've got spirits, how about you? We've got spirits, yes we do. We've got spirits, how about you?
Kind of weird that we're here at the exact same time, huh?
Yeah, but let's not dwell on it. Let's just get this over with.
Yeah, but first things first.
What? Ah!
That's for all the disturbing images you showed me throughout this whole entire endeavor.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, with that in store, let's start Boo York, Boo York.
She hits hard.
Do you want another one?
No, ma'am.
Good.
Released last year, Boo York continues the trend of expanding the Monster High universe by sending the ghouls to another major city outside of Monster High.
But in a first for this series, Boo York is the first Monster High musical. The question is, on the direct-to-DVD budget this series has, does this story actually work as a musical?
Well, for an opening number, that was short.
Yeah, but it's actually showing that there's going to be a new background character showing the spotlight. So why don't we do one final round of
Who's That Ghoul?
Catty Noir. Again, we've seen Catty here and there, most notably in the closing song of 13 Wishes. Her backstory is...
If you don't live under a rock, you've heard of Billboard Magazine's Musician of the Millennium. Catty Noir is the queen of the love song.
Wow, that was convenient.
You know, is there the narrative equivalent of Blue Balls? Because I think we just got it.
Yeah. Hey!
The world's greatest star mysteriously dropped out of show business. Why? Only Catty knows.
Actually, so does anyone who paid attention during the web series. Essentially, Catty got tired of the stress of performing, the paparazzi, and general other nonsense that comes with being famous, and took off for Monster High to recharge.
And it seems to be working well for her, except for one small problem.
I'll never get it. Never! Oh!
Did you put that in there?
Yeah, I figured it's the last review, so what the hell, go nuts.
Sweet!
Catty's having writer's block because while she's known as the queen of the love song, she's never actually been in love and feels like a fake because of it.
This leads us into the next song, Search Inside.
deep inside.
A sweet, simple song? It's not bad. It reminds me of Part of Your World.
Yeah, but there's a problem with it, which will come up again as we go on.
Problem?
I'll elaborate a little bit later. Oh, and you may have noticed the giant pink ball in the sky. Yeah, it turns out that thing has some major significance to a certain Monster High family.
It is time. Nephra, my daughter.
Oh no, not these two again.
Yes, the snobby mummies that everybody loves to hate are back. And this time, Ramses is taking a much more active hand in things.
Oh joy.
Pack your bags. Summon your sister Cleo.
Cleo? But Daddy!
We travel to meet our dynastic destiny.
Dude, you're not pointing at New York, you're pointing at New Jersey.
Must be meeting up with the Toxic Avenger.
No friends, no girls in hot till I got radioactive ugly. Toxic Crusaders, Toxic Crusaders.
Ah, damn it!
You really need to do something about that.
I know, I'm working on it. Having been told about the trip to New York, Cleo starts gushing to Deuce about the trip and drops some exposition in the bargain.
It's the first public showing of the most important Egyptian artifact ever. The comet crystal.
Of course, while Deuce is glad to go on the trip with Cleo, he's a little leery of all the fancy upper-class things Cleo and her family plan on doing, and he worries about embarrassing her.
At lunch, Cleo mentions her dad also said she could bring a couple of friends along, which of course cues Frankie, Operetta, Claudine, and Draculaura to talk about how much they want to visit the city, while Caddy thinks it might be the best place to rediscover her muse. Cleo, being Cleo, decides to bring everyone with her, certain that she can convince her dad to let them all come. Which segues us into the next song.
City streets, never sleep. Let's hit the town every day of the week.
Pretty standard for a montage song.
Well, if by standard you mean bland and uninteresting, then I agree.
Okay then, and it's 10 minutes in, and Mattel showed their new doll line.
Which means, of course, new movie, new doll line, and new characters.
Yes. First up, Lulu Matthews, the daughter of the Mothman, who has come for a home in New Jersey. Wait, Blue Jersey? Really? Okay. Anyway, she comes to New York to try to make it as an actress on, oh my god, really? Bloodway? They're really stretching the monster puns here.
You know, it's not even really a pun, because blood doesn't sound remotely like broad.
Which reminds me, it seems someone else from Monster High has come to New York.
Toralei? What are you doing in New York City?
What? Nephra invited me.
Admit it, sister. Having Toralei around always makes things more exciting.
Toralei and Nephra. Together.
I'm scared.
We're all scared. So let's move on! Quickly!
Yes.
Continuing our cavalcade of new characters, if you thought robots were underrepresented in this franchise, what with Rebecca being the only one so far, let's meet the new model, Street DJ LED.
We know!
And I'm Cleo Denial of The Denial.
Then you must be here for that gala.
You bet.
I'm gonna DJ tomorrow night. That comment must be super important. I heard the Ptolemies are hosting that gala tomorrow night.
Right after this, Cleo remembers that she and Nephra have to meet their dad at Ptolemy Tower to meet the Ptolemies. She drags Deuce with her and leaves the ghouls to sightsee in the meantime. However, as is standard New York cliché number 447, they have trouble getting a cab, and this leads to our last new character.
You know a lot about New York.
Upper Beast Side, born and raised. My family helped build this crazy maze of a city. The name's Mercedes. Mercedes King.
Having a friend so familiar with the city could prove useful.
Meanwhile, in space... Instead of passing by, the comet appears to be heading straight for Earth. Fortunately, everybody's favorite zombie science ghoul is on the case.
To the Ghoulia lab!
You know, I do like that the movie hasn't forgotten that Ghoulia now has Professor Steam's old lab, presumably with Rebecca's blessing. Small bits of continuity like that make me happy.
Meanwhile, Cleo, Nephra, and Deuce arrive at Ptolemy Tower, and despite Ramses having a massive hissy fit over them being late, they meet Madame Ptolemy, who, strangely enough, looks an awful lot like Nefertiti.
Purely coincidental, I'm sure. They also meet her son Seth, who wears a mask. All the time. Well, gee, this couldn't possibly be significant in any way, now could it?
Quit talking crazy!
And you've brought A friend?
Sup, Miss Ptolemy?
Dude, you don't introduce yourself to royalty like that!
No, absolutely not. You introduce yourself to royalty like this.
Madame Ptolemy drops some cryptic statement about the Ptolemy and denial families becoming closer the next night at the museum when the comet is due to pass overhead. Meanwhile, back at Monster High, Abby arrives at Julia's lab to see what's got her in a tizzy.
Is that bad? Blow up the whole world! But you can fix it, right?
Back in New York, Ramses reveals to Nephra the true purpose of their trip.
Centuries ago, a small piece of that comet broke away and landed in the Sahara Desert. Any promise made in the presence of the crystal when the comet is above becomes a real and unbreakable truth. After its power was discovered, it became customary for the most important royal betrothal ceremonies to be performed under the light of that comet.
Which pretty much means, even though the script dances around it much like the Ghoul's Rule script danced around Holt's execution, that Ramses wants to put Nephra in an arranged marriage with Seth Ptolemy, presumably so the Denials have some sort of control over New York and a shit ton of money besides.
Yet, Nephra refuses. Instead, she puts her sister on the chopping block, which Ramsey agrees to, except, well, Cleo already has a boyfriend, so decide to break him up, and it leads to the best song in the movie. I have to admit, this is probably my favorite song in the movie. It has a catchy tune, it's a great villain song, and the visuals used to represent both our main villains, it's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
I have to agree, it just encapsulates the shallow, power-mad attitude of both Nephra and Ramses completely. Also, the auto-tuned modern style of music actually works for this song, unlike some of the others we've heard so far.
Sitting high on my throne in control. This is some kind of
Holy crap, they're giant size! Quick, send in the biplanes! Oh yeah. Shit, we're indoors!
Nephra calls Mercedes for help in setting up a fancy brunch for the next morning where the rest of the gang meets Madame Ptolemy and Seth. The plan? Get Deuce to make an ass of himself and embarrass Cleo. But first, Seth tries to break the ice.
Do you like Spooksphere sonnets?
Is that some kind of New York band or something?
Oh my, no. We Ptolemies don't care for wild modern music. I mean poetry. I write poetry.
So you're trying to tell us that people who write or read poetry are boring. Really?
Yeah, on top of that, Deuce interrupts the impromptu poetry recital, and thanks to Nephra, he got a completely different memo about the brunch.
Oh no.
Hey, everybody.
Stupid.
I agree. And things go from bad to worse when dessert is served.
Oh no, the food! It's on fire! Deuce, quick, do something!
What?
Sorry.
Oh my god, Deuce, why the hell do you have to be this stupid? Mercedes said just a few seconds ago that it was a flambe, meaning in the world of food, it's supposed to be on fire. Seriously, why did the creators make him this stupid? If you told him the up-dog gag, he wouldn't get it.
What's up, Duck? Oh, God, I cannot believe I just fell for that.
See? He's giving me an evil glare, isn't he, folks? Hi. After the disaster, Deuce continues to lose intelligence by going to Nephra of all people for advice. Nephra uses this opportunity to make Deuce feel like he isn't worthy of being Cleo's boyfriend and tells him he could stay with her until the unavoidable breakup, or he can end it now and let Cleo move on with her life. Because that's a healthy way to look at our relationship.
Meanwhile, the comet continues rushing toward Earth, and it turns out it's going to impact right in New York that night at midnight. Back in New York, the rest of the ghouls...
Oh, hey, ghouls! Luna! Something about you looks different. Oh no, don't tell me. Haircut?
Actually, before we go any further, I need to point this out. Why are the other characters even here? Okay, we've got three plot lines going on. We've got the Denials and the Ptolemies, we've got the comet headed for Earth, And we've got Caddy trying to get back into her music. At this point, in all three of these stories, Frankie, Draculaura, Claudine, and Operetta might as well not even be here because they're not directly involved in any of this. I mean, I know the real reason is because they have dolls in the doll line, but come on, give them something to do!
Make them do something!
Do something! Do something! Do something!
Back in Monster High, Ghoulia hacks to a satellite to investigate the comet. It sends out a signal and turns out that the comet might not be a comet at all.
Losing signal, searching again. Changing frequency. Elle? Elle, are you okay? What's happening?
She's a Mac. Just turn her off and on again. She'll be fine.
Elle says she felt a song in her head, but she can't quite remember it, and Ghoulie and Abby discovered that their attempt to slow down the comet had no effect. The ghouls start sightseeing again and encounter another street performer, a rapper called Pharaoh. And it would seem that Caddy's finding herself intrigued, and gets pulled into a duet.
But, stupidly, she removes her sunglasses, which blows her cover, and the crowd forces Caddy and Pharaoh to make a break for it. Specifically, the rooftops.
You're crazy.
No, what's crazy is a famous pop star trying to walk down the street without getting recognized.
Am I the only one getting Aladdin vibes as Pharaoh's jumping over the rooftops with Caddy?
Is it safe?
Sure, do you trust me?
What?
Do you trust me?
Yes.
Back at the hotel, after giving in to Pharaoh's advice, Deuce breaks up with Cleo, which leads us into the next song, It Can't Be Over.
Sorry, it's over.
This can't be over.
Sorry, it's over.
This can't be over.
Man, that's a total whiplash and Deuce's voice changed you like that. I mean, the song's sad, yes, but why did there have to be auto-tune in the song? And why did Deuce's voice change like that? It's just, feels wrong.
Yeah, that's actually the major problem I have with nearly all the music in this movie. The problem is that they use the same singers for every song, regardless of the character that's singing. So every male character has the same singing voice, and every female character has the same singing voice, with one exception that we'll get into later. The problem with doing this and using this group, which is credited as the Math Club, is that because they're all the same singers, the songs all blend together and are ultimately forgettable.
Caddy texts Frankie and lets them know she'll meet them at the Comet Gala, and
Should head back and start getting ready too.
Ah!
What?
Oh, sorry. That's just, this is the first line that Operetta's had since the cafeteria scene back at Monster High. I forgot she had a voice.
Oh, what about the Monster of Liberty and the Hudson River Bridge? Sorry, Draculaura, we can always come back for another visit. It's not like Boo York is going anywhere.
Back at Monster High, Ghoulia tries to stop the comet, but Heath and Manny show up, somehow, and assume she's playing video games. Heath moves a satellite directly in the comet's path, but it sends out a pulse of energy and destroys it, causing Abby and Ghoulia to suspect there may be more to the comet than it seems.
Pharaoh takes Caddy to one of his favorite hangouts, where he talks about his family.
Your friends don't like music?
No, and my family can't stand it. They only like the oldies. You know, from when like Tut was young.
Oh gee, who could Pharaoh be possibly talking about?
I have no idea. It's a complete mystery. This could be harder to figure out than who Sparky actually was in Freaky Fusion. The day trip seems to do Caddy some good, though, and Pharaoh suggests she close her eyes and listen to the sounds of the city. She does, and she picks up on the rhythms of the noise and rediscovers her muse.
I hear music.
Funny, all I can hear is stomp.
Same difference.
Back at the hotel, Cleo's still upset about the breakup and isn't planning on going to the gala. But Nefer comes in and preys on Cleo's need to be a people pleaser to get her to go. Back at Monster High, Ghoulie and Abby confirm the comet is a spaceship and there is a pilot inside.
So we wake the pilot, we save the world. But how we do that?
Giant alarm clock?
Obnoxious dubstep remix?
Fireworks?
In space?
Space fireworks?
Moving on! Caddy's been writing like crazy all afternoon, and she and Pharaoh get to know each other. Pharaoh says that after that night, he won't be rapping anymore, and that the reason is complicated. No, it isn't.
But before they can talk further, Caddy spots the comet in the sky and remembers she's supposed to be at the gala. At At the gala, Madame Ptolemy retells the legend of the comet and how the mummies believed it came from beings beyond the stars, and presents the comet crystal for its first public display. Meanwhile, the ghouls get news of the breakup and they don't buy it.
They were like Romeo and Juliet.
So they're going to piss off their families, get a whole bunch of people killed, and then die themselves? No thank you.
Nephra finally clues Cleo into the whole thing with the promise ceremony, thus proving that Cleo is either so distraught she wasn't paying attention to anything Madame Ptolemy said, or she has the observational skills of a concussed yak.
Wait a minute. Did I just make a yak joke?
I'm afraid so.
Oh, damn it, Abby!
Frank and the others discover Luna's working the party as a waitress in another of her odd jobs. At the same time, Goldie tries to contact the spaceship pilot, which causes the ship to send out another signal, reacting to the comet crystal and causing Ellie to fritz out again.
Meanwhile, Cleo decides to go through with the promise ceremony.
It is with great pleasure that I present the future of the Ptolemy Denial Dynasty.
This is messed up. Cleo is giving into peer pressure from her family to do what they want her to do. She's losing her happiness and her freedom because of it. This feels so wrong.
And that's the tragedy of Cleo denial. It's easy to write off Cleo as a shallow narcissistic diva, but as you go through and watch these movies, and you realize that she gets so little actual love from her home life that she's desperate to get it from anywhere else, and this is translated into a need to be adored by everyone she meets. Now, her relationship with Deuce actually keeps her grounded because the two do love each other very much, and you see that from her beginnings as the antagonistic mean girl, up to the fight with the normies in Ghouls Rule, up to her attempts to get her popularity back in 13 Wishes. But here, well, right now, Deuce is gone, and again, much like in Ghouls Rule, that's leading Cleo to make some very poor decisions.
Caddy shows up at the gala, and this gets Seth's attention, leading to a completely unexpected reveal.
No. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not just gonna let you take my music away. And I'm not gonna wear this anymore.
At least it was a better reveal than Fiona realizing it was an ogre that rescued her in Shrek the Musical.
And this leads into the title song, Boo York, Boo York.
The place we all wanna go, be the star of the show. When you're out in Boo York, Boo York.
This song is nothing special. It has a nice beat to dance to, and it works for the title of the movie.
Not for me. I find this song dull and uninteresting. But then, I've never been a huge fan of rap anyway.
If it's music that brought those two together, then somebody needs to take it away from them. Whatever is spoken in the presence of the comet will be for all time.
You gave me the confidence to take off my mask in front of everyone. Thank you, Caddy.
No, thank you. You showed me your city, your music, and helped me find mine.
A whole new world.
A whole new brand.
We're not infringing anything. And speaking of Disney,
The musical voices of Caddy and Seth will forever belong to you. Take away their music, and with it, their affection for each other.
Ursula powers come out of nowhere. Yeah. Oh, yes, I Jim?
When do I get paid?
Oh, sorry about that, man. Giant box of Kit Kats. Here you go. Well, at least we got rid of all that chocolate.
Where the hell did you come from?
Oh yeah, this is your first Magfest. Shit happens like this.
You got gemmed.
As a result of their music being taken away, Pharaoh obediently follows his mother, and Caddy, well...
He had no idea you and Seth, Pharaoh, had feelings for each other. I guess we did. Did?
The promise ceremony will proceed as scheduled. Isn't that right, Seth?
Nephra tells Torline to get rid of the comet crystal so her wishes become undone, but they're spotted by Mercedes. And later, Torline decides to use the crystal to give Caddy and Pharaoh's musical talents to herself because we need to extend the runtime of this movie. On the bright side of things, Deuce finally decides to man up and get Cleo back, while the ghouls try to get Caddy back to her old self.
What this school needs is a healthy dose of vitamin music. And go! My name's Caddy Noir, and singing makes me feel better. She can't sing.
Shouldn't her singing be affecting everyone else right now?
More to the point, why in the hell would you not use the only other character besides Caddy who has a musical background in your goddamn musical?
Yeah!
Mercedes reports that she saw Nephra hand off the crystal to Toralei, and the group tracks her down to a theater on Bloodway, where, somehow, Toralei has gotten on stage and is performing with Caddy's voice. This leads to the next number, Steal the Show, and is also where Luna gets her big break.
Listen up, 'cause I came to save the show.
This is a nice song, though I'm starting to get a bit annoyed at the auto-tuning being overused.
Yeah, it gets a little grating since it's been used for every song in this movie, but leaving that aside, this song is saved by A, having a third distinct singing voice for Luna, and B, being pretty damn catchy.
So, Caddy gets her voice back along with the comet crystal. It's then the crowd turns on Toralei, and she ends up tangled in the set, essentially removing her from the rest of the movie.
Toralei had Caddy's singing voice for only 4 minutes total in this movie. Funny how they play that out on their YouTube channel as though, I don't know, it was a major plot point for the movie.
Marketing!
As a result of this impromptu and probably very illegal performance, Luna comes to the attention of every producer and agent that happened to be in the theater, setting her on the path to presumed Bloodway stardom. Meanwhile, Mercedes calls a couple of cabs, and Deuce shows up just in time to meet up with them and head to the museum to stop the promise ceremony. Toralei lets Nephra know what's happened, and Nephra does not take it well.
All I wanted was a little help manipulating my sister into marrying a prince to make me fabulously wealthy and powerful. Is that too much to ask?
Enough! You're whining! It hurts!
Whining? I am not whining. I am complaining. Which one of you magical ancient amulets can slow those ghouls down?
That explains the constant string of blackouts in New York over the years.
That doesn't seem very fair to say.
Have you ever been to New York?
Yes. Never mind. I retract my previous statement.
I win.
Stuck in traffic, the ghouls try to figure out how to get back to the museum, and it's then Caddy gets an idea.
So they're parkouring their way back to the museum, just like any superhero would.
And if that doesn't seem impressive to you, allow us to point out that the majority of the characters are doing this in 6-inch heels.
It's badass.
As they run, the crystal picks up another signal from the comet, which causes Elle to fritz out once again. This time, however, Frankie gets an idea and calls Gulia to figure out what's going on. When Gulia hears the chime that the crystal is causing in Elle, she realizes it's the full signal she's been trying to decode.
Gulia will fix everything. World not be destroyed. This time. Bye now.
Gulia begins transmitting the song back to the comet, while the ghouls race back to the museum, where the promise ceremony is about to begin. Fortunately, with a little help from Frankie, they get back in time to interrupt the ceremony and return Pharaoh's musical voice to him.
Which brings us to the subplot wrap-up. Pharaoh and Madame Ptolemy reconcile, as does Deuce and Cleo, and Nephra once again has a raging bitch fit about not getting what she wants.
I feel like we're forgetting something.
What?
Oh! Fiery death coming from above!
Oh, right.
The comet heads right for the museum, but at the very last second, Gulia manages to send enough power to her signal to awaken the pilot, who brings his ship to a halt right above the rooftop.
My name is Astronova. That song you heard was a distress signal. You all saved me.
The power of music just saved New York from being destroyed. Oh, music, is there anything you can't do?
It cannot make a truly good sandwich. What? It's almost lunch.
It's funny, but in a way, you were the one that saved us, Astronova. We were all searching for something this weekend, and if your comet hadn't brought us here, or given us your song, we wouldn't have found what we were looking for.
When did this turn into My Little Pony?
Probably about the time DHX Media started producing these movies.
I didn't know that.
Are you Having a party?
Well, it's midnight. I'm in Boo York with my deuce and my ghoul friends in the middle of Times Square. You'd better believe we're having a party.
Of course.
'Cause we are shooting stars. Light it up. Be who you are.
The final song is called Shooting Stars. It's not bad. It's pretty enjoyable to listen to, and it's my second favorite song from this film.
Yeah, mine too.
And so, with Astronova awake and the end of the world averted, the movie comes to an end.
I feel bad for Operetta, though.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's like you said earlier. She has a musical background, but they never once used it to its full potential in this movie, and she had maybe one or two lines to say in this whole thing. I feel like she got cheated out of being awesome. I mean, come on! Where's the awesome?
Go, Operetta!
Go, girls! Go, Astronova!
Astronova rock!
Holy crap, that was awesome! I mean, Operetta just rocked that banjo like crazy. Just you guys!
However, that's not all the surprises Astronova has up her sleeve.
Really?
But you'll never believe where I am.
Yeah? Tell us.
Monster High. It's real. All the lands, all the high schools that we thought were just stories, they're real.
So it is true.
Oh my god!
For those of you who don't speak Miss Nightmare, those two were Raven Queen and Apple White, the two main characters of the Monster High spin-off series, Ever After High.
Oh, does this mean we get to review Ever After High next?
No.
Aww.
Well, maybe.
Yes!
But first, final thoughts on Boo York, Boo York?
Oh, right.
Boo York, while having a couple flaws, is a good addition to the Monster High franchise. It develops Caddy and Cleo's characters, introduces a couple characters that matter to the plot, and the soundtrack, while heavily inspired from some popular pop songs, can hold up on their own. Some of the songs range from good to okay to, oh dear God, no more auto-tuning, my ears are bleeding. Yet, there were a couple flaws in the writing, giving very little reason for freaking the others to be there, other than promoting the new dolls for the movie, especially when they put Claudine on the DVD cover, and she doesn't have a subplot in this story. Overall, I recommend Boo York if you can tolerate the auto-tune songs and you're curious about the film.
It's fairly solid, but not my favorite. I already mentioned how using the same singers for every song causes each song to blend into each other. However, when the songs are good, they're really good and really fun. My personal top three are Steal the Show, Shooting Stars, and Empire. Again, this one suffers from too many subplots and too many characters, which becomes really evident when you realize there's no reason for Frankie, Claudine, Dracula, and Operetta to even be involved in this story. Toralei and Nephra make for an amusing pair, proving that Toralei might be better suited as a recurring henchman rather than a recurring main villain. Overall, worth a watch, but there's stronger movies in this series.
And now all we need is the last key.
Question is, where the hell are you even gonna find it? Did you hear that?
Sounds like it's coming from the hallway.
Of course it's Abby.
Of course it is. Shall we?
Let's.
So what do you think?
Well, maybe we just put our hands in the circle?
Worth a shot.
Yeah.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. I don't believe this. We've been had.
This can't be right. We did everything we're supposed to do. MD could not have done the enchantment without the 12 keys. That's how it's supposed to be done.
Well, we have all 12 keys. We confirmed Ampersand wasn't lying about that. So what are we missing?
I don't know. I just would... Wait a minute.
As my client's will was drawn up when there were only 12 total films expected, as I understand it, the enchantment only requires 12 keys to undo.
I may have heard a few things about breaking the curse with fewer than the 13 keys necessary to undo the lock.
Ampersand wasn't lying. MOD was.
What?
Think about it. A couple movies back, we were told there were 13 keys to get rid of these bracelets. Ampersand only knew about 12 because that's all MOD told him.
Okay, so why exactly would she lie to him about there being 13 keys?
To give me hope. Knowing that if I reviewed all 12 movies and not know about the 13th key, she would see me break down and, well,
Yeah.
the rest is history on that shit.
Okay, so how are we supposed to find the 13th key? Because the next movie isn't even out yet.
If I know Moody, she wasn't waiting for us to review another movie. She wouldn't be satisfied unless she knew I had the ability to break the curse without even knowing it. Which would mean... I've had the key the whole entire time. Kind of ironic, really.
Are you okay?
Wow. Yeah, I'm fine. What the hell are you wearing?
Well, I can ask you the same thing.
What are you? Oh. Huh. You realize you look like Sparky, right?
Yeah, but honestly, it's kind of cool. Oh, look!
What? Oh my god, yes! We're free! I feel like we should be celebrating here or do something, but what?
Well, you're here, I'm here, and there's a whole convention center of people out there who have no idea how these things are done. So, what do you say we finish this out in true Monster High fashion?
I don't know what you're talking about. Let's do it!
High school of horror can't get out of my bed. Everybody's talking, but it's not in my head. They say, don't be different, be like them instead. But they can't keep us down, cause we're Monster High friends. The clock is striking 13. It's time to cheer for your team. You are the coolest school by far, so don't be afraid of who you are. Cause tonight we're gonna leave our fears behind. We're in it together, stepping out and we let our spirits fly. Stay fierce forever. Freak out if you dare. Your best nightmare. Don't stop rocking your rides of pride. We are Monster High.
Darkness falls across the land. Midnight hour, close at hand.
Perfectly imperfect and we do it our way. United, not divided, won't get cast away. They say, go run and hide, but I just gotta say, we drop dead gorgeous each and every day. The clock is striking 13. It's time to scream for your team.
You know, random bouts of pain and magic aside, this was actually pretty fun.
Yeah, we tolerate each other for the most part, but it's still fun.
Yeah. You know, there is another movie due out later this year.
What are you trying to say?
Well, do you want to keep going for as long as Mattel decides to? And maybe in between releases of the new movies, we could look at Ever After High?
Okay, just for that con, you're so on. But first, I'm Miss Nightmare.
And I'm Dubious Khan, and we just escaped from Monster High! Ah, excellent. It worked. And in answer to your next question, no, they don't suspect a thing.